In 1972, Alice Cooper released an album that came with fake panties, got banned by school, and turned teenage rebellion into a stage show with guillotines. Schools Out didn't just break the rules. It torched the lesson plan and left the building in flames. Let's talk about it. Today we're cracking open School's Out, the fifth album by Alice Cooper. Came out in 1972. This album turned teenage rage into glam rock theater. Whether you were a misfit, a theater nerd, a stoner, or a rocker, this album gets it. And yeah, there's a wild backstory involving the GTOs and Frank Zappa and illegal panties. So here's the deal. When most people say Alice Cooper, they think of the lead singer. Vincent Furnier is his real name. But originally, Alice Cooper was a band, not a solo act. The group formed in Phoenix, Arizona in the late 60s, and they started out being called the Earwigs. Then that changed to the Spiders, and then that changed to the Nazz. But they found out that Todd Rundgren already had a band called the Nazz. So they sat around one night and thought, what should we call this band? They thought that people would expect a dark name because of their stage show, which was very horror-oriented and theatrical, with Alice carrying around his pet snake and guillotines and electrocutions on stage. So they decided to change the name that would remind people of a sweet little old lady, Alice Cooper. There's a old urban legend we used to hear that they got that name from a Ouija board session, but Alice himself said that was bullshit. The lineup was very tight. Vincent Furnier on vocals, also known as Alice Cooper. He legally changed his name to Alice Cooper in 1969, since everybody thought that was his name anyway. Glenn Buxton, the lead guitarist, he always had a cigarette half hanging out of his mouth. Michael Bruce played rhythm guitar and keyboards, and he wrote a lot of the songs. Dennis Dunaway was the bass player. He was Alice's high school buddy. Neil Smith was the drummer, and he somehow managed to be both glam and terrifying. And these guys weren't just playing dress up, they were killer musicians. Like, make Frank Zappa stop and think, what am I hearing? Good. Which brings us to the man himself, Frank Zappa. Legend had it that Zappa's label, Straight Records, attracted a lot of weirdos. He signed the GTOs, Captain Beefheart, Wildman Fisher, and Alice Cooper. Zappa put out the first 3 Alice Cooper LPs on Straight. And Frank didn't always get what Alice Cooper was doing musically. He just liked the chaos that they inspired with their stage show. He saw a lot of potential in the horror show meets high school energy vibe the band had. So he signed them in 1969. Their first few albums, Pretties for You, Easy Action, Killers, were commercial flops, but deeply weird and interesting in a way that earned them a cult following. Miss Christine, one of the GTOs, is the one who basically invented Alice Cooper's look. Miss Christine was the nanny of the Zappa children, and the band would sometimes come over to hang out with her and play with the kids. The band loved Christine's style. She was by far the most fashion conscious of the GTOs. So they asked her to style the band, and they got a whole ragged, glam, cabaret, school shooting aesthetic before Hot Topic was even a thing. She put Alice in smeared eyeliner and little baby doll dresses and made the band look like something your parents would call the cops on. By the way, did you know Alice had his own brand of mascara? Here it is. By the time Love It to Death, produced by Bob Ezrin, hit in 1971, they finally found their voice. gritty, theatrical, and very catchy. That led to Killer, and then 1972, School's Out. Let's talk about the songs. The title track you hear every June like clockwork. You hear that guitar riff, and your inner 14-year-old suddenly wants to play sick from school to avoid a math test. It's a blunt force anthem of teenage rebellion, and somehow it feels more chaotic every time you hear it. Looney Tune is a song about literally going insane, not metaphorically, like padded cell, straitjacket, hearing voices, insane. But, it's catchy as hell. Then there's Blue Turk. This is Alice doing lounge jazz. It's got horns, smooth bass line, and this creepy seduction vibe, like you've walked into a bar populated with vampires. Gutter Cat versus the Jets is full-on West Side Story turf war. Ezrin's production is all over this album. Tight transitions, theatrical structure, musical Easter eggs hidden away. It plays less like a rock album and more like a concept piece. Kids trapped in a nightmare high school where the only escape involves arson. But the critics didn't get it. Some called it sloppy. Others said it was all style and no substance. Too over the top, too dramatic, too weird, which is hilarious because that was the entire point. Alice Cooper didn't want to be the Rolling Stones. They wanted to be Frankenstein fronts a garage band. And they weren't just playing music, they were building up their mythology. Alice Cooper were never the critics' darlings. Over time, though, the critics shut up because you can't argue with influence. You don't get Kiss without Alice Cooper. You don't get Motley Crue, Marilyn Manson, or even Lady Gaga in her meat dress without Alice Cooper. And punk, that whole chaotic screw your parents DIY vibe. Alice was doing that before Johnny Rotten bought his first safety pin. In fact, Johnny Rotten auditioned for the Sex Pistols by singing I'm 18 to Malcolm McLaren. There's a tidbit for you. Miss Christine, the GTOs, Frank Zappa, Bob Ezrin, and this weird little band of desert misfits somehow created the blueprint for the next 20 years of music culture. Plus, Alice was true showbiz. He joined the Friars Club and hung out with Bob Hope, Vincent Price, and he played golf with Dean Martin. Plus, he was next door neighbors with Groucho Marx, and they became very good friends for a long time. Until the crown jewel of this album is School's Out, the title track. Even now, decades after this record came out, that song still shows up on movie soundtracks, commercials, graduations playlists. It's the We Are the Champion of teenage rebellion. It's the sound of breaking free, of throwing your notebook in the trash and flipping off the principal on your way out the door. It's glitter, danger, and pure freedom jammed into 9 tracks wrapped in fake underwear. The album was initially packaged with paper lacy panties. See? The panties were then found to be flammable, so later pressings came out with a safer pair. We've got the dangerous ones. In the end, School's Out is a very influential album. Alice Cooper took the freaks, the loners, the drama kids, the kids with weird moms and bad report cards, and gave them a soundtrack. 50 years later, it still hits like a stink bomb in the faculty lounge. Treat yourself and have a listen. Admire the packaging. The album looks like an old school desk, and it opens up. They used to know how to do album packaging back then. Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It's completely free and it really helps my channel. I'll have some cool links down in the description, so check those out. What's your favorite Alice Cooper record? Have you ever dressed up like Alice Cooper at Halloween? Let us know in the comments. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next one.